Welcome to Success TV Media, your trusted source for accurate and timely news. We bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis.
Good day, friends and viewers. Please watch this news to the end and I will be back for more details.
We have called this press briefing essentially to inform Nigerians about the crisis in Rivers State, to condemn very clearly the unconstitutional state of emergency in Rivers State, to clarify constitutional concerns and propose solutions that will help foster national dialogue and accountability. Because we do not make any assumptions that every Nigerian, and of course the international community, understands the background and context of the crisis in Rivers State, we are going to proceed in a slightly different way. So before we commence with the press briefing proper, we will take a couple of minutes and ask my colleagues that are here with me to provide some insights into the crisis in Rivers State. Hopefully that will aid better appreciation of some of the issues we will raise in the course of the press briefing. To start us off, I'm going to invite someone who I believe needs no introduction. I'd like to invite Aisha Yusufu to come forward and speak to us with regards to the timeline and causes of the crisis in Rivers State. Understanding of the constitutional violations and precedents in the Rivers State crisis, I'd like to invite Mujirayo.
As a lawyer in Nigeria, I think one of the things that you learn, in fact, not even at law school, you learn it even in the university, is that the Constitution is the ground norm and has all the, the prerequisites for a functional democracy. And a lot of times, one of the things that you learn as a lawyer is that the interpretation that comes with each of the provisions of the Constitution. And it's very unfortunate that this time in our history, we have to come back to Section 305, talking about the powers of the president to actually declare a state of emergency. There is no doubt that Section 305 has laid down the procedure for any president within a federation to declare a state of emergency. But in this particular case, what we should be asking ourselves is very simple. Did the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria follow the due process and the rule of law? Which I would clearly say, no, it's not. And why would I say that? Okay, Section 305 of this Constitution, I'll try as much as possible not to bore you because there are several processes, provisions under that. And first and foremost, the president can declare a state of emergency, if the country is at war, if there is imminent situation of war or invasion, as the situation would be. If I was going to liken the situations in this kind of scenario, I may say, yes, it was in order that the president, Goodluck Jonathan administration had, ordered state of emergency in the, I think it's Borno State and all that, which makes more sense. Now, if you look further into Section 305, you see where it says that if there is a likelihood of public safety and public order being affected. And then there is something I love about the drafters of the Constitution, which I believe that a lot of people try to miss it because of the mischief in their hearts. Now, it says that the public safety and public order must be threatened to the extent, that is the word, extent. It says to the extent that it requires an extraordinary measure for the restoration of peace and order. So what question we as lawyers and as people who really believe in the democracy of a nation like Nigeria should be asking ourselves, the situation in Rivers State, has it gotten to the point where the public safety and public order is being threatened to the extent that it requires extraordinary measures? I am aware that the president has, given a reason stating that there has been vandalization of pipelines. But the question is, how often has pipelines been vandalized in Nigeria, and how often has the president of a democratic nation actually issued a state of emergency? Now, let's move further. the Section 305 further states that in the situation where the president actually declares or proclaims a state of emergency, then you would send a copy of a gazette. Of course, it has to be registered in a gazette. You send the copies to the National Assembly. Now, the National Assembly has the duties as lawmakers and people representing the majority of the people. We shouldn't forget that power lies with the people. They are representatives. And yes, we understand that under the state of emergency, as outlined in Section 305, it gives them a very short window. It gives them 2 days in a situation where they are sitting, they are in session. And then it says, okay, peradventure you are not in session, we give you 10 days to actually decide and come up with a 2/3 majority vote of each house of, houses of the National Assembly. And so what that clearly states is this. For you to approve the state of emergency that has been declared by the president, the members of the Senate, let's say, okay, the members of the Senate, 109, it means that at least 73 members, 73 senators must assent to that proclamation. Then, for the 360 members of the House of Representatives, it clearly states at least 240 members of the House of Representatives would assent to that proclamation. Now, what did we see play out? I'm happy that Aisha Yusufu had already, enunciated that. We saw a situation where legislators, people representing the majority of Nigerians, went into plenary or went into this meeting that they convened, and we saw that if you know that you are in support of it, say aye. For a constitutional requirement that says 2/3 majority, what I believe the drafters of the Constitution have clearly provided without any form of equivocation or any form of ambiguity is that at least each member of that chamber would rise up and say, I am in agreements with the proclamation by the president. That will be recorded, number one. Another person will get up, and that should have been the process that should have been sanctioned by both houses of National Assembly. But unfortunately, at this time in history, Nigerians are seeing a situation where their legislators, with a voice vote, approved the proclamation of the president. This is clearly unconstitutional. There is nothing else we can say about that. And it is against the tenets of democracy, and it is antithetical to the rule of law, simple as it is. And not only that, the Supreme Court in 2007 had already clarified this, that, the president has the authority to declare a state of emergency. But in doing so, he cannot, for any reason, remove a governor of a state. And why is that? Because the Constitution has laid it down in Section 188 of the Constitution, the processes for removing a governor. It is either it is an impeachment that is done by the House of Assembly, it is done by death, it is by resignation, and not ever, there was never any outline that says in case of there is a threat to the public safety and public order in which the president now has to declare a state of emergency. That is not what is in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that shows clearly that there's been an overreach by the president of the federation, and this is also unconstitutional. And then we shouldn't forget that very beautiful provision in the Constitution. The Constitution have always been we, the people of Nigeria. And then Section 1 clearly says that if there are any laws or any actions, anything that is inconsistent with the provision of this Constitution, they must be declared null. A nullity to the extent of their inconsistency. And I believe that what has happened so far in the issue between the president and the Rivers State is an unconstitutionality and inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that very. Dr. Boluwaji Onabolu, Executive Director for Mothers United and Mobilize. She will help us understand the implications and solutions to the crisis in Rivers State. Doctor.
Thank you very much. Mothers United and Mobilized, we are very, very serious about the importance of the youth of Nigeria being able to enjoy the human rights in the land of their birth, Nigeria. And I'll use the word that seems to be an elephant in the room: executive coup. There has been a coup against our youth, against every Nigerian. The two speakers before me have laid it very clear that what the president has done is not just unconstitutional, it is anti-constitutional, it is anti-democracy, where a president abrogates to himself the unilateral decision to remove a sitting governor, the governor's deputy, and the whole House of Assembly of a state. Basically, what it means to civil society, to you and to me, is that he nullified, he desecrated your vote and my vote. And that cannot stand. Furthermore, in a time of democracy, where people, including our president, as chairperson of ECOWAS, spoke against a military coup, we see that bringing in a retired military person as sole administrator and deploying 10,000 soldiers sends a message that perhaps the president is saying that democracy does not work. Furthermore, it has been stated here clearly that the Constitution does not allow the president to remove somebody, not just one person, the people that we elected, while protecting the person he appointed. So in terms of rule of law, desecrating the rule of law, which is what has been done, where even the president swore in this military man before the National Assembly had sat. He usurped the powers of the Chief Justice, and that is terrible optics that we must not forget and we must not allow to stand, where a single person stands and asks a military person, a former military person, to sign and take office before our representatives have sat. Consequently, no elected governor is safe in this country, especially if he belongs to the opposition party of a sitting president. In terms of economic disruption on your lives, on our children's lives, it is massive. We already see many companies exiting Nigeria because the rule of law is essential to stability. And then the issue of distrust, public distrust. It's a generational issue. I was talking to someone yesterday who I didn't even know, but he was just saying that his son asked him, "Mom, Dad, what is the meaning of state of emergency?" And he told the child, "Go and ask your mother." Because he didn't know how he would explain to the child that something so against our Constitution, it's not just the state of emergency, but the way it was done. So our values are being eroded. And so, in terms of this public distrust, we are, as civil society, as ordinary people of Nigerians, we are saying that this state of emergency this suspension is null, it is void, it is not just unconstitutional, it is anti our Constitution, it is a slap in our faces that our representatives in the National Assembly went into a closed vote, and in such a serious matter, they did ayes and nays, and we say no. And we're asking you, each one of you, to call your representatives and say they must not vote, against your vote, which is what they essentially have done. We sent them there, and you can recall them.
About the House of Assembly throwing their support to the president for what he did. In fact, I will say that I'm actually surprised, as I'm sure members of the media are, that the governor of Fubara has not thrown his support for the president for what he did, because we are Nigerians and we know what politics is in Nigeria and how it works. But on a serious note, we are not interested in who supports who does not support who. We are interested in the ground norm of Nigeria, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. We are a constitutional and representative democracy. If we, the people, have agreed that we want to practice democracy, it simply means that every action that is taken by elected government officials should be consistent with the Constitution. Members of the House of Assembly of Rivers State have the right to support whoever they want to. Can support Fubara, President Tinubu, Wike is none of our business. It only speaks to character and integrity. That's the minimum we can say. But to the extent that the Constitution of the Federal Republic is threatened, then each and every one of us must immediately, actively occupy our office of the citizen to say no. This will not stand and this will not happen.
Of that state, they add section 188, which says that they can impeach the governor of the state. So it's quite questionable that they are now, this thing about supporting. I find that very, very impossible, in fact, because if they had issues, they should have gone through section 188 of the Constitution and then impeach the governor. And then we will not be here now having this kind of conversation.
Thank you. There really isn't any lacuna there. And I like the fact that you already referenced the Plateau case. I think that was under former President Obasanjo. I think the Supreme Court has been as clear as they can be in interpreting the Constitution, that there is no provision, there's no clause, there's nothing in the Constitution that empowers a democratic president to remove another duly elected official, be they members of the State House of Assembly, be they members of the National Assembly, be they sitting elected governors. There are no powers. Even as a lay person, you can interpret Section 305 yourself. There are no powers here that says he can remove the governor. Section 188, as my colleague has stated, clarifies that. The House of Assembly has the power to suspend, to impeach the governor. The governor has the power to also resign. Or, in the case where there is a death, the governor can leave the office. But there's nowhere from beginning to end, the Constitution says, under ABC circumstances, the president can remove. So there's nothing, again, for the Supreme Court to interpret.
Now, my analysis. Something is not right in Nigeria. Some political leaders are dumb, and this is why Nigerians are suffering. They don't obey the law, and they don't respect the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Time to act is now. We should get rid of these people before they destroy us all. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.